All right, last growth video that we've got, talking about optimal growth and how do we achieve optimum growth. Optimum growth is totally going to depend on the production goals. Depends on if we're asking those animals to produce milk, meat, fiber, eggs. In the case of performance horses, it could be speed or endurance or something else. So understanding that optimum is going to change from species to species, and even within a species, it's going to change from stage of production to stage of production. So optimum is kind of a loose goal, but we want to achieve optimum growth in all of our animals. So for those animals that are desiring meat production, optimum growth is all about trying to produce a carcass that's going to meet consumer criteria. We got some pictures of a beef carcass up there, but it's going to be a lean, desirable, have marbling, and all of those things. So that's where when we're feeding animals for growth, depending on if it's beef, sheep, goats, whatever the case may be, where it's going to be about carcass traits and trying to meet the consumer's criteria for carcasses. And that's accomplished through several different things. One, having good genetics for carcasses. Two, in feedlot settings, particularly on the cattle size and even some of the lamb feedlots, there's going to be stage or step diets that allow a transition for animals from a high forage diet onto a higher concentrate diet. And these different diets account for different stages of growth. And so it is about trying to take one phase, say the finishing phase, the growing finishing phase, and we're trying to break it down to better match their nutrient requirements to those phases. Generally, we're going to be feeding for a lean gain while the animal's laying down protein. Lean is not the fastest growth rate out there, so we don't necessarily want to push them super fast, but we want to make sure we are pushing them efficiently. And so making sure they're putting down lean gain throughout that process. If the animal starts laying down fat, we may need to back down a little bit depending on where we're at. And so that's going to be something that's monitored and managed. There are some tools out there to help producers to help manage optimal growth and manage lean growth, and some of those are repartitioning agents. Those are additives. They are either hormone or hormone-like or ionophores or other substances that can be added to an animal's diet to allow them to promote lean tissue development as opposed to fat tissue development. And it alters that deposition. Some examples of other products: ionophores are commonly used because they promote lean growth as well and promote average daily gain and efficient use of feeds. Many of you have probably heard of Paylean, or the chemical is actually ractopamine. There is a product for pigs and a product for cattle approved on the market. And those actually change the ratio of fat and protein that's deposited. It's designed to have an animal shift from putting down fat to putting down more protein. And it's one of those products that if you show animals, a lot of people abused it and caused a lot of problems with animal health and well-being and carcass quality. And so those products kind of have a bum reputation. However, if they are fed how they are intended, they can be extremely useful for producers to be most efficient with their feed dollars and promote carcass development that the consumer wants. If we talk about breeding animals, and we'll take a look at milk, eggs, wool, work, whatever we're asking them to do, then we're wanting to make sure that we have an animal that's going to perform well over a lifetime, longevity. And so we want to manage them from a life cycle standpoint. So it's not as clearly defined, that effect of early growth on total lifetime performance. So optimum growth is not as clear for these animals. We know that on our beef heifers, we do not want to push them too hard during the development phase and have them gain too much, because we can actually have them put fat down in their udder and permanently reduce the amount of cells able to produce milk and have a negative impact on lifetime milk production. So there's some clear challenges in terms of what that optimum growth rate, and that's still being explored and researched. What we do know is that rapid rate's probably not wanted, but we sure don't want to go too slow. We also probably don't want uneven growth. We want to keep them consistent and steady, and on a steady climb in terms of those growth rates. That wraps up the last round of growth discussion. Final series of videos is going to be repro.